study these, but doesn't mean I have. You showed them to me 30 seconds ago. I passed out the basket, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Alright, quiet please. I think that I would like to do the first section there with you. Like the 100 and the 10, like this first, there's like 3 parts, you know? And then also, there's some of this stuff on your con, these density curves, and we haven't talked about that yet. So I want to do 1 or 2 of those with you also, and then the rest will be your homework. There's also a couple things in here I haven't shown you, but they're simple. Okay, what percent of scores are above 112? So, what you guys have learned so far is you can go like this. Normal CDF, negative 999, up to 112. Tell the calculator the mean and the standard deviation. Label the freaking mean and the standard deviation. But what am I going to have to do with that answer? I'm going to have to subtract it from 1. Well, there's another way you can do it. So go ahead and do it. Let's see what we get. It triggers me that you face your back to me while I'm teaching. I'm shook. I'm shook AF right now. What'd you get? 88.5%? Basically. Okay.
1 minus that.
Oh, right.
So it'd be 11.5.
Okay. Okay. Stop talking. So if you just do this part, you should get like 88.5%, and then do 1 or 100 minus that, or like 1 minus 0.885, whichever way you want to look at that. And you get 11.5%. Well, there's another way you can do it. You can. All the calculator cares about is that the lower number goes first and the higher number goes second. So you could say, well, I want to look between 112 and positive infinity. And go all, instead of saying from the very bottom up to 112, I'm going to say from 112 up to the very top. And then tell the calculator the mean and standard deviation. And then, do you have to subtract it from 1? No. So you're just, it doesn't matter to me which way you do it, but it's just nice to have like an understanding of both and have an option. So, all your calculator cares about is that the low number goes first, the high number goes second, and then it gets the mean, and then it gets the standard deviation. Every time so far, I've made the low number negative 9999. That just was the easiest way to teach it. That has to do with percentiles. It like makes sense. But you don't have to do it that way. Is that okay for 1? For 2, so again, now this is between this and this. I could find, like, here'd be the pain in the ass way to do it. I'm going to find the percentile for this. Let's say it's like 80th percentile. I'm going to find the percentile for this. Let's say it's like 40th percentile. Then I'm going to subtract them. But I do not need to do that. All your calculator cares about, it's going to find between the 2 things you put in. So I'm going to go 95, 115, tell the calculator the mean, tell the calculator standard deviation. So you put the low number first, the high number second. That's all your calculator wants to see. You don't need the 999 because we're not looking like all the way below a number or all the way above a number. We're looking between 2 actual numbers. What do you want?
What if normal CDF
it's cumulative distribution function. So it's adding up all the percents in between. It's accumulating data, like in between the two numbers that you tell it. I don't know. We'll never use it. Are those two okay? Do number 8. Jump down to 8. Cross these off as we go. Do 8. So remember, when you're putting this stuff in, you have the option to either tell the calculator the mean, the standard deviation, X bar, the mean, the standard deviation, or what's the point of telling the calculator those 3 things? So that it can find the z-score. So if you know the z-score, I don't care what any of those are, and it's actually shorter because I'm subbing in this z in place of all 3 of those. So all you have to type in here is normal CDF, negative 1.2 and 1.5. And it's going to accumulate all the percent of the data that's between a z-score of negative 1.2 and a z-score, so 1.2 below and 1.5 standard deviations above, and that's 81.8%. How's that one? All right. Do 7. Why do you face the other way? But you realize the knowledge is this way. Well, at least you're facing the instructor. I don't know you well enough yet if I should yell at you or not. If you get A's, you can face whatever way you want. Did you get A's? I don't know.
Can I face backwards?
Sure. Sam might have a problem with that. There's actually 2 ways you can do this. I'm running out of room. So, doesn't matter to me, doesn't matter to anybody. If you do, you can go, we want above 1.5. So we can do 1.5 up, just 1.5 and up forever means 1.5 to 9999. Or, the way we would have done it before today, is you would have gone negative 9999 through 1.5, and then subtracted that from 100. It doesn't matter to me which way you do it. How many got 6.7%? Questions on it? Let's do number 3 like together. So score of 89. How do I go from a raw score to a percentile? Raw score to a percentile. Normal CDF. And for a percentile, do I want the percent that's below or the percent that's above? Percentile. If I'm in the 99th percentile, is that good or bad? It's good. So you want the percent below. So this is going to be negative 999 up to 89. I don't have a z-score, right? So I have to type in, or I have to tell the calculator the mean and standard deviation. You have to label them. So it's like 13.6%. Round to like a decimal, I'd say, yeah. Is number 4 a different question than number 3? The exact same question, but you have to understand that. You have to understand why. So what percent of scores are below? What percent of scores below and percentile are the exact same thing, the exact same question. I mean, I guess you can type it in again if you want, but that seems to be not necessary. And then 5 and 6, I give you a percentile, and I want you to go back to a raw score, or to a data point. How do I go from a percentile to a data point? It's inverse norm, right? So this would be inverse norm 0.85. All I want is a z-score, so I don't care about the mean and standard deviation. So this would be 1.04. Should have left more room on this sheet. My bad, fam. And then raw score, again, I gave you the percentile, I want a data point, so it's inverse norm, but now I want a raw score, so now I do care about the mean and the standard deviation. So I got 90.5. How many, like I'm having trouble right now telling if you guys are good or not. How many like worked ahead of me and you were all set, you had this all done, or like you were close before I even got to it? Okay, so how many do you think it's kind of hard? Okay, that's I wasn't sure where we were at. Okay. I get that. That's fine. I missed number 9. Forgot number 9. So what is the IQR? Try number 9. Raw score. It's a raw score, so yeah. So I would say this then. Part of the reason I couldn't tell if you guys were struggling or not is because people are talking. Usually that happens when you're like bored because it's easy. So let's stop doing that, please. If you have a question, ask. I want to know the questions. So what percentiles are we looking for here? 75 and 25, right? And I want the raw scores. So we're going from a percentile to a data point, and I want the raw scores. So you're picking between the two inverse norms, but I do care about the mean and standard deviation because I want the raw score. subtract to the end, yeah. Oh, it's the same number we got in the warm-up because the standard deviation is the same. So for the Q3 and Q1, so Q3 would be inverse norm of 0.75 because that's 75% below. So I do want the actual data point, so I care about the mean and standard deviation. They give me 106.7. I didn't even type this in. You're more than welcome to, but if you're doing it, it'd be the 25th percentile. Mean and standard deviation, but I was just like, okay, well, this is 6.7 above the mean. So excuse me. So this has to be 6.7 below the mean, and then subtract and you get your actual IQR. How many got 6.7 there? Questions on that? That's good. That's a tough one. All right, I want to show you this the density curves before we move on, and this is for the homework. Like the rest of this homework, I will check it tomorrow, absolutely, to see if it's done. If it's not, you won't be eligible for retakes. But I'll put the answers on Schoology, so you can check it while you're doing it. The whole thing is homework. Okay, so this is for your con. Trying to like help the con here. I mean, obviously it matters too, but please stop talking. So, any density curve shows you 100% of the data. So, like if you add up everything in a normal curve, it's 100%. If you add up all of these, it's going to be 100%. And then when I ask what percent of the data is above or below or between or whatever, you're figuring out the area underneath it. So when I say what percent of the data is above 3, well, there's 3. The entire density curve is above 3, right? So what percent of the data is above 3? 100%. Now above 5 is a different story. So above 5 is here. Oh, below 5, sorry. Below 5 is here. So what I would do, what you're doing is finding the area. You can kind of count the boxes or you can use area formulas. What's the area of a triangle? 1/2 base times height, right? So you can do that or you can just kind of count. So how many boxes are there below 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's 2 boxes here. Can you guys see that? Yeah. So there's 6 boxes below. What's the size of each box? What percent is each box? 10%. I know that because the base here is 1. So the base of a block is 1. The height is 10%. So what's 1 times 10%? 10%. So if I've got 6 boxes below 5, that means 60% of the data is below 5. Between 4 and 6, well, how many boxes are there between 4 and 6? 8. What's the size of each box? 10%. So 80% of your data is between 4 and 6. Fair enough on those? Alright, so your job is to have this packet done by tomorrow. What? Yeah, you can have the rest of the time now. And I'll do it up here too so you can like check as you're going. I'll get my answer key rocking. Is it helpful if I write the formula that I typed in too? Probably. Okay. Yeah.
So for the graph one, when it comes about, where is that percentile? Is it just the number that's like?
So like if it's like where's the 60th percentile, where's the number that has like 6 boxes below it, for example? Which one are you on?
Like the second one. What would it be in between 2 boxes?
It'd be 3 because there's 1 box there, 1 box there, 1 box there, and then like these 2 combined are a box.
You just write 3.
Yeah. second section along with what I typed in, so you can see if you got it right, and then if you didn't, see what you should have typed in. Label your means and standard deviations, please. Have I mentioned that yet?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll have to remember to bring that up tomorrow.
Which you're not, though.
Probably. There will still be like 10 people that forget.
So you do want us to show all our work on these? I mean, we
Yeah.
plug into the calculation, but
I don't really care, to be honest. I care that you know how to know how to show your work. I'm more showing my work because I think people are going to need help.
yeah.
If you're getting them right,
Yeah. Although this is very tricky, at least for me.
so what?
This is tricky for me. So
Okay.
to be honest, it's less math and more like memorizing how to do it. Like it's not as conceptual.
It is.
Well, I guess it's more conceptual than Schneider.
No, but there's a lot of like just getting to know your calculator too.
I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. Am I gonna say anything? Or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are we doing then?
I can give you the thing. Okay. We're gonna work more on this and then we give out. So I'll probably have the answers to this. That's supposed to do for the place tomorrow.
Is there a way to remember? I understand like how to do it, but I feel like when I'm doing these, I'm just looking back to seeing the exact thing we did. Like, is there a way to remember? Like for user, way to remember? Like, oh,
Yeah, like I think the more you do it, I think the more you'll. If there were a short, easy way, I would have showed you. You know. I will say this. Listen, please. I understand this is tricky. There's a lot going on. Like, none of it individually, if I just gave you one thing and, like, here, do this, it's easy, right? But it's a lot going on. There's a lot mixed up. I had the test scheduled for Thursday. I'm not opposed to moving that back. But you got to do your part, too. Like, if I walk around tomorrow and no one did their homework, that does not motivate me to move the test back. You know what I'm saying? I want you to understand it before we have a test. But you also have to be putting in the work.
like what did text me remind me? I know.
So do what? Your homework?
Yeah.
It really is.
What?
Yeah.
I know. I should have this whole high school thing down by now.